More intense scrutiny for singer David. This week, there have been some new pieces of information that have been released, not confirmed by the LAPD. However, I think they're really important. And I've sat here, if you watch this podcast, I've said I am so sick of the recycled headlines. I'm so sick of saying the same information in different ways when it comes to this very tragic and perplexing case. However, I do think the details I'm about to share that emerged yesterday, which was November 19th, today is November 20th, I think they're really important to the case. So let's break it all down. I'm Lauren Conlin. Welcome to Los Angeles Magazine. This is your daily scandals and crime news podcast. All right. So earlier this week, I was a little frustrated. TMZ, first they put out a video saying, we spoke to our LAPD source and they say that, yeah, we're not even close to an arrest. And it didn't seem like news. It really didn't seem like much of anything. And I guess it was, I guess if I had to guess, it was them trying to keep the case in the front of our minds. Fine. But then literally one day later, TMZ comes out, ABC comes out and says that their LAPD source, so a leak within the department, let's say, has confirmed that David is in fact a suspect and David is in fact a person of interest. And the police are looking at him and they've been looking at him. And I'm like, yeah. And of course, he's always been a suspect or a person of interest. They just have to be careful with their wording. I mean, if for whatever reason, and this is entirely possible because we still don't know what's going on, if David does not end up getting arrested in any sort of capacity, they can't be out there claiming that he's a suspect. And second of all, when do the police do that? When do they ever say, oh, this is who we're looking at? And, when it comes to this homicide or this case, no, they don't announce persons of interest. They just investigate the case. So in my mind, I'm kind of just like, why is this news? Why is this a thing? I mean, if you put all the pieces together, David disappeared from the public eye. Celeste Rivas Hernandez was found in the frunk of his car. He canceled his tours. He hired a high-profile attorney, Blair Burke. He transferred his homes in Texas to his mother's name. He moved out of his Hollywood Hills home. He postponed his Withered Deluxe album release. I mean, all of these things, right? Sure, David was never a suspect. I mean, come on, fine. So, I sat here and I'm like, all right, this isn't news. But I also wanted to keep this case in the front of people's minds. So I reached out to a Los Angeles-based attorney, Nima Rahmani, and I wrote up an article for LA Mag. And, I talked about with Nima just options for the family. And Nima said, they should file a civil suit if there's no movement. And the civil suit will just demand that the LAPD turn over evidence to the family, evidence that they have in this case. And even though those things take time, I mean, it's very possible that just the thought of a civil suit could get the LAPD moving in the right direction. Apparently, they are notoriously slow. So they do sometimes need these fires lit. Anyway, I thought that was an interesting take. If you want to read that article, you can go to lamag.com. But then Harvey Levin, I'm going to play this video from TMZ. I thought he did a great job with this because this is a solid piece of information that I think can be used when it comes to figuring out what happened to this poor 14-year-old girl, Celeste Rivas Hernandez. So I'm going to play this video. I'll play most of it. It's about 3 minutes long, but this information, again, I am trusting Harvey on this. I think this is solid, and we'll talk about what this might mean after I play the video. I know, get ready. All right. Watch again. Yes, I've watched many.
I want to talk about the mystery still in this David investigation. We broke the story yesterday that David is viewed as a suspect in the death of Celeste Rivas. The big mystery centers around something that we have now confirmed absolutely as true that the LAPD has some tracking information where they claim that David took this mysterious trip to a very remote area of Santa Barbara County in the middle of the night in the spring of 2025. Now, that is months before the body was discovered in Los Angeles in a trunk.
Oh,
I don't think it's hard to connect the dots. And he stayed there, by the way, for several hours. So I don't think it's hard to connect the dots that one of the things they seem to be looking at is
worse.
whether Celeste was killed then and he buried the body there or left the body there in some way. If he did that, then the question would be, why would somebody, whether it would be him or somebody else, remove the body from Santa Barbara County, which is 100 miles away from LA,
Hmm.
and bring it to Los Angeles, and then put it and leave it in a trunk on a well-traveled street, only to be found after the car was abandoned? That's the part
Weird.
that doesn't make sense. And I think that's, at least what I'm hearing, that's something the LAPD is really looking at. But I believe they have a theory. I don't know what it is, but based on our information,
Wow.
they have some theory about if the body was buried in Santa Barbara County or left in Santa Barbara County in some remote area, um, how it came back to Los Angeles. And that may also explain why we are told the LAPD believes that David would have had help. And now I don't know whether that help would be taking the body from Santa Barbara back to LA. I don't know. But that to me,
I mean, when we know that, and I'm not saying help in a homicide, I'm just saying we know there was some kind of help because uh, it's been reported, and this has been reported by Steve Fisher, the PI as well, but he has video of who was in the Tesla last. So, I mean, yes, I think it's clear there was some kind of assistance, whatever that may be. But yes.
is the logical way of connecting the dots. Now, I'm also told that logic is not a big part of this case because a lot
Wow.
of it doesn't make sense just in
Yeah.
terms of everything that happened. But based on this Santa Barbara trip, it seems that the LAPD's operative theory is that Celeste was killed in the spring of 2025. The body not discovered until around September.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So we kind of have said this in the past. If you want to, not that you need to go fact check me, but I've done multiple interviews with the PI on this case, Steve Fisher. He works for the homeowner. Apparently, Celeste's body was so heavily decomposed that there was that possibility that maybe she wasn't dismembered, but it was, I hate saying it, falling apart. So these theories, they've gone hot and cold throughout the duration of this case. And I want to point this out with Harvey Levin. Harvey is an attorney, first and foremost. I follow Two Angry Men with Harvey and Mark Garagos. I have watched Harvey sort of step back from the theory that David is responsible and this is a homicide. And I've watched him sort of lean in to the fact that it could be a homicide. With this video, he stepped back and he's like, well, at one point he seemed to be pushing the OD theory. And look, Harvey knows everybody in LA. I mean, he's got the LAPD contacts. He knows David's lawyer, Blair Burke. So I'm thinking when Harvey leans with a theory, he's got good reason for it. So it is interesting that all of a sudden Harvey's like, well, it sounds like, XYZ happened. And so I'm like, okay. And also, if you looked into David's content and you followed him, I mean, there are videos of him. I remember one video in particular where it looks like it's the middle of the night and he's in the middle of nowhere. So I would believe this. I mean, did he drive out there with Celeste when she was alive? Did an OD happen and he panicked? I mean, I hate thinking about these theories, but that's all we're left with at this point. But it does sound like maybe police are getting close and we won't have to do this any longer. And this sweet girl will get justice. But as always, you can follow the story here. I try not to go too deep into the rumors, too deep into the speculation. But yeah, sometimes I guess we just can't help it. But anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe to Los Angeles Magazine. And I'll be back tomorrow with more pop culture scandals and crime news. I'm Lauren Conlin, and justice for Celeste Rivas.